Now, this is a very, very significant story because we have a massive difference in perception around what's happening along the line of actual control. The Chinese think this confrontation is over, that this is the way things will stay. India says that's not true. So far, there hasn't been any visual proof over the last several days. So now join me over the next few minutes as I take you finger to finger and show you. We'll go back to June. Look at what the situation on the 15th of June was, compare that with the 29th of July. So come with me and please listen very, very carefully to each of what I have to say. Now this is right in the corner here, finger 4. So this is finger 4, this is from the 29th of July. And as you can see, it indeed has been cleared out. So on finger 4, we do see a clearing out. Now, as I come to the next finger, this is finger 5. Okay, so you're paying attention. This is finger 5. Here you can see the entire Chinese build-up still existing. Here on the ground you've got prefabricated tents, you've got vehicles that are lined up. You can imagine that there'd be equipment, military equipment, supplies, weapon systems inside this. This is finger 5. Now we'll come towards finger 6. As you come into depth, and this is actually the first time anyone seeing this. This is visual reference to the real situation on the ground. There is no he said, she said, sources said. This is the way things are on the 29th of July. Now just at the back of finger 5, between finger 5 and finger 6, there's a lot of deployment in the beach area. And as I go up, you see this massive deployment over here. This is between finger 5 and finger 6. So, and we'll get the experts to explain what each of these prefabricated huts could be. But what a prefabricated hut suggests is that they've made preparations to stay there for longer. If it's a tent, you can just wrap up a tent, take it back to Shrijap, which is where they came from, but they've got prefabricated tents suggesting they could potentially be here for the long haul. So this is now, you've seen this entire build-up right above the lake area in finger 5 and finger 6. Now I want to go further. Here you see a pier. This is between finger 7 and 8. You've got Chinese boats lined up. You can actually see those boats. You see an entire jetty that's been set up in this area. Can you see it on your screen? This entire area. That's the pier. You've got Chinese boats. You've got very naturally personnel, their version of the Marines who are here to power these boats if it's required. Now I want to compare this image with here. This is now, I'll go image by image and take you through. This is from the 15th of June. So now you can compare. Just stay with me here. This is the 15th of June. This is finger 4. So you see a massive build-up on finger 4. So you see these boats. You can see them on the screen there. You see this entire build-up. This is in finger 4. You can see some vehicles that have been arranged. You see lots of vehicles that have been arranged. We see some tents that have been arranged. Those pink Chinese tents now that India has seen so often. I come now to the next picture. This is 29 July, finger 4. So it has indeed been cleared out. 29 July, finger 4 shows the area has been cleared out. Same area. I just showed you exactly the same area. That area has been cleared out. So finger 4, they have moved back on. Now, what happens to the other places? Let's now take you through that. Okay, this is now finger 5. Okay, finger 5, 15th June. Now, in this picture, you will see there is very little there. So this is finger 5. They've got a map of China. We showed that to you the last time. They've got written in Mandarin that this is Chinese land. This is the same place, 29th July, finger 5. So what they had earlier on finger 4, they just pulled back. And why this is important is India's land extends all the way till finger 8. Till finger 8 is where the Indian perception of the line of actual control runs. So what they've done is they've pulled back from finger 4, taken a bulk of what was earlier at finger 4 to finger 5, and now when you come closer, there you see on your screen right now, you can actually see their Chinese vehicles. And this is the first, this is a big India Today national exclusive. This is the first time you're seeing it on TV. This is on finger 5, visual proof of how they've just pulled back just a little bit. Now this is the 15th of June. This is in Shrijap, so just off finger 8. This is what you can see. So come closer as you see this on your screen. Here it is. And you can see the build-up on finger. This is just finger 8. Now I come to the next picture, they've actually intensified the build-up. So earlier, in the previous picture, you see a few boats. Now the number of boats has actually gone up. You've got more piers, more infrastructure coming in. So in case you think the situation is over, as the Chinese are claiming, that isn't the case. I want to welcome now former Chief of the Indian Army Staff, General VP Malik, one of India's leading China experts, Brahma Chelani. Kanwal Sibal is a highly respected former Foreign Secretary, and I want to start by asking General Ved Malik first. The satellite pictures I just took our viewers through, General Malik, seem to suggest, and you need to compare and contrast this with what the Chinese government has said in Beijing and in New Delhi. They think the disengagement is over, that the Chinese are exactly where they think they should be on their side of the LAC. The satellite pictures we just accessed from Maxar show that is not the case. Far from pulling back, there are many places where the Chinese have actually intensified their deployment. What do you make of this, General Malik?
Look, I have no doubt that the Chinese are indulging in doublespeak, as always, and they just want to delay all these tactics. These are delaying tactics which they are indulging in. And it's not only the satellite picture that you have shown, but even the army spokesperson also, I think yesterday there was a statement from them that for the last 2 weeks there has been absolutely no movement of the Chinese troops. As far as the area of fingers is concerned, the other side of Pangong Tso, they are still occupying, I believe, some heights along finger 4 at the higher level, and of course finger 5 and all. So all this is delaying tactics. They just want to carry on with double speak that they are doing, and they want to maintain the status quo that they think, and not status quo anti that we want, that is of April 2020. It is quite obvious to me that these are delaying tactics. And also, yesterday is a statement made by the Chinese ambassador. He made it very clear that they are not going to delineate, or they're not interested in delineating LAC. So apparently this conflict situation is not going to ease down, as far as I think.
Brahma Chelani, what's your reading of the current situation? What do you think the Chinese are up to? And unlike earlier when there was talk of disengagement, now the Chinese are saying, in the way that they see it, their perception is the disengagement is over.
Precisely. India today confronts the most serious Chinese aggression since 1962. To shield its encroachments in eastern Ladakh, China has activated tensions along the entire Himalayan border with India. We are focused right now on Pangong Lake, but we should not forget that the Chinese are also inside Indian territory at Depsang. They're inside Indian territory at Hot Springs, at Gogra. So we're looking at multiple places where the Chinese remain ensconced on Indian territory. China did not make encroachments at the risk of triggering Indian military counteraction so that it would later withdraw on the basis of negotiations. For China, the purpose of the disengagement process is to help it to buy time, to consolidate its land grabs and make the changed status quo unalterable. That's how they look at disengagement. Now, if you look at the wording of the Chinese and Indian statements, it's interesting to note that the word de-escalation is missing from the Chinese statements. They've never referred to de-escalation. And while India refers to early and complete disengagement, the Chinese always drop those two prefaces. They never say complete disengagement or early disengagement because they are quite content with what they have grabbed. Their strategy is to hold on now and to present a fait accompli to India. In a sense, they are putting the ball in India's court.
Mr. Kanwal Sibal, what's your sense of what's at play diplomatically? You heard the statements from Beijing, you heard the statement from the Chinese ambassador in Delhi. Far from accepting that there is a problem, far from talking about disengagement, the Chinese are telling India and the rest of the world that they think the situation is resolved. So they're squatting where they are, and clearly from the kind of intensity of build-up, the prefabricated huts, it seems that they have no intentions of going back.
Well, you know, I listened to the Chinese ambassador yesterday. It was all hogwash, standard Chinese line. He was prevaricating, he was skirting all the serious issues that have come up, and repeating the propaganda that they get from their headquarters in Beijing. But if you removed all the hogwash, the central theme was pretty tough, in the sense, as was rightly said by by General Malik. He explained why the LAC process will not be accepted by China, because he says the LAC was the clarification of the LAC was supposed to actually bring about tranquility and peace, but India has made exaggerated claims and has created new disputes. So that is out. So our central expectation from the current crisis, that at the end of the day, the Chinese will realize that clarification of the LAC is also in their interest if they are thinking of a long-term, peaceful, stable relationship with India. But that is not the position they have at present. Secondly, he did talk about repeatedly disengagement and de-escalation, contrary to what Brahma said. At least the ambassador mentioned de-escalation, but at no point did he mention status quo ante. And the thought occurred to me that since we are demanding status quo ante, and the entire Chinese line rules out status quo ante, then what is the possible solution that both sides have in mind? I can't see China at all, irrespective of what you have shown in terms of where they are on finger 5 and finger 6 and finger 8 and on the lake itself and the jetties. It is very clear that if they agree to status quo ante, then the entire all the steps they have taken, the aggression that they have committed would lose all meaning. Then what would have China gained from all this? They have alienated India. India has embarked upon a series of steps.
You know, old China hand, what do you think they're up to? What do you think is at play?
I think they have committed a huge mistake. They have got into a very difficult situation themselves and put us in a very difficult situation. Now it's become a matter of pride and facing safe, because there's no way Xi Jinping can accept this defeat, that he, like the Duke of York, he marched 100,000 people up the hill and marched them down again. There's no way. And therefore, I think I see a very, very difficult period ahead, and we'll be compelled to take other steps at the political level and in relation to like-minded countries to pile up pressure on China, which will progressively unravel the relationship, which will also include economic decoupling progressively, because it can't be done immediately. But I think the basic structure on which we had we based our relationship with China since 1988 and the subsequent peace and tranquility agreements, that has been broken.
Okay. General VP Malik, you know, one is economic coercion, political pushback. Militarily, how do you view the situation? The Chinese are very clearly, from what these new satellite images suggest, way beyond what India thinks is its perception of the line of actual control, and from what we're hearing diplomatically, they seem to have no intention of pulling back any further. So that's where we are with this disengagement process. How do you, as a former chief, view the situation militarily?
Firstly, all the steps that have to be taken, they will include the political, diplomatic, economic steps. But you are asking me specifically about the military steps. The military has to be prepared for any kind of action, both offensive as well as defensive. And I believe that our military is quite prepared. Incidentally, I must tell you that even post-Guangdong, when we were compelled to, we had moved a brigade quickly to Hathongla. I still remember both the Air Force as well as the Army moving forward immediately and and we stayed there for many years. So over here also in Ladakh, I have no doubt that our troops, if required, they will be able to stay. And as far as I'm concerned, they will have to remain alert for any action that the government may want to do, in addition to whatever diplomatic or economic action the political leadership takes.
In conclusion, Ramachalani, your sense of what we need to do militarily, economically, diplomatically, politically about this situation. The new satellite images show, far from things being kosher and returning to normal, the Chinese are intensifying their build-ups here.
You're right. The onus is on India now, because the Chinese have done what they set out to achieve. The aggression has sought to achieve two aims. One is to alter the balance of power along the Himalayan frontiers by occupying vantage points in eastern Ladakh. And second is to gain psychological dominance over India. The aggression signifies a geostrategic sea change. And to all intents and purposes, China has redrawn the line of actual control in its favor in the critical border areas of Ladakh, not just at Pangong Lake, at 5 different hotspots of eastern Ladakh. And today, China is dictating a Hobson's choice to India. The Hobson's choice is go along with the changed status quo or face the risk of open war. Consequently, India faces an agonizing war-related dilemma. China's actions collectively constitute an act of war, yet the stealth and deception that have characterized China's forcible change of the status quo, coupled with this massive military buildup in Ladakh and elsewhere along the Himalayan border, have put the onus on India to challenge the Chinese military might by declaring war. Now, we are all talking about preparing for a long haul. Preparing for a long haul suits the Chinese strategy. For example, let's talk about this disengagement process. You've had one process on border talks that has been going on since 1981 for the last 39 years. Now, disengagement has emerged as another ring role. It allows China to buy time and to eventually present India a fait accompli. So preparing for a long haul is not necessarily something that will work to India's advantage. So it's crux time for India. What does India want to do? Does it want to challenge China? Does it want to use non-military options, economic and diplomatic? I think we have taken some initial economic steps. We need to now launch a diplomatic offensive on China's aggression. We have been very reticent, unwilling to speak up, unwilling to call China out on its aggression. We need to shed that reticence and begin a concerted diplomatic offensive to spotlight China's aggression and to take necessary steps all along the border to ensure that China does not spring another military surprise elsewhere along the frontier.
So these are very, very serious questions that need to be pondered over, and concerted action needs to be taken. Make no mistake, to my mind, this is by far the biggest story of the day. These new satellite pictures which confirm that what's happening on the ground is completely the contrary of what the Chinese government would have India and the rest of the world believe. And you saw that with your own eyes right here on the Newstrack. I want to thank General Ved Malik, Kamal Sibal and Brahmachalani for joining us with their very incisive.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kanwal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.